The signal of desperation. The first signs of the invasion came without warning. Astronomers across Earth detected anomalies in the orbit of Neptune, slight perturbations that shouldn't have been possible. Within days, the outer planets began showing similar disruptions. Something massive was entering the solar system, bending the very fabric of space around it. Commander Elena Reyes stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, watching as the massive holographic display tracked the approach of what they now knew was a fleet of alien vessels. She had spent 15 years in military service, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "How much time do we have?" she asked, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. Admiral Chen, a veteran of the Mars conflict, looked up from his console. 72 hours until they reach Earth orbit, Commander. Our long-range scans show at least 18 vessels, each larger than anything we've ever built. The Vrektar had appeared 6 months ago at the edge of human-colonized space. Without provocation or attempt at communication, they systematically destroyed the research outposts on Titan, then methodically worked their way through human settlements across the solar system. Jupiter's moons fell within weeks. Mars held out longer, but ultimately succumbed. Earth was the last bastion of humanity, and it was about to fall. "The evacuation ships?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. "Not enough," Chen replied grimly. "We can save maybe 15 million people if we pack the colony ships beyond capacity. Where they would go is another question entirely." The room fell silent. 15 million out of 11 billion. It wasn't even a statistical rounding error. It was extinction. Dr. Aisling O'Neill burst into the command center, ignoring the security protocols that should have prevented her entrance. Her wattled eyes and disheveled appearance spoke of days without sleep. "I found something," she announced, brushing past startled officers to approach Elena. "Something buried in the Atacama signals." The Atacama signals were humanity's greatest archaeological discovery. Alien transmissions detected in ancient salt deposits, preserved for millions of years. For decades, scientists had studied them, trying to decipher their meaning with limited success. "This isn't the time, Doctor," Admiral Chen began, but Elena raised her hand. "What did you find?" Aisling projected a complex pattern of waveforms onto the main display. "It's a beacon design. The signals weren't just messages. They were instructions for building a device. A quantum resonance transmitter that operates on principles we barely understand." "And you think this can help us against the Vrektar?" Elena asked, skepticism evident in her voice. "I don't know," Aisling admitted. "But the equations suggest it creates a signal that propagates through subspace, instantaneously reaching across the galaxy. It's like sending a message outside the normal constraints of physics." Elena studied the scientist's face. "You've built it, haven't you?" Aisling nodded. "It's operational, but I need authorization to activate it. The power requirements are substantial." "What happens when we activate it?" Admiral Chen asked. Aisling's hesitation was telling. "I don't know. The signal goes out. Perhaps nothing happens. Perhaps someone answers. Or perhaps it makes things worse." Elena finished the thought. "We're already facing extinction," Aisling countered. "How much worse could it get?" The Global Leadership Council convened within the hour. Representatives from the surviving nations gathered virtually to hear Dr. O'Neill's proposal. The debate was short-lived, with annihilation guaranteed within days. Even the slimmest hope seemed worth pursuing. The beacon was housed in a repurposed fusion research facility in Antarctica. Elena stood beside Aisling as engineers made the final preparations. The device itself was deceptively small, a crystalline structure suspended within interlocking rings of an unknown alloy. "You're sure about the message?" Elena asked. Aisling nodded. "It took weeks to translate our distress call into the format specified in the instructions. It identifies Earth's location, explains the threat we face, and requests assistance. And you believe someone is listening. After all this time, the beacon wasn't left here by accident, Commander. Someone wanted it found." The countdown began. Around the world, power grids rerouted energy to the Antarctic facility. Cities went dark as humanity poured its remaining resources into one final desperate act. Isling placed her hand on the activation panel. Ready. Elena took a deep breath. Activate. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystalline structure began to glow with an internal light that seemed to shift between colors that had no name. The rings surrounding it spun faster, creating a low humming that resonated through the facility. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Then came the silence. The structure froze, glowing with blinding intensity before suddenly going dark. "Is that it?" Elena asked. "Did it work?" Isling checked her instruments. The signal was sent. Now we wait. But there was little time for waiting. The Vrektar fleet continued its inexorable approach. Earth's combined military forces prepared for a last stand that everyone knew was futile. The enemy ships had shrugged off nuclear detonations as if they were fireflies. Planetary defense cannons had proven equally ineffective against their shields. 24 hours after the beacon's activation, Elena stood in the command center watching the countdown to the Vrektar's arrival tick away. 12 hours remained. "Any response to the signal?" she asked, though she had given up hope. Before Isling could answer, every screen in the command center flickered. Static washed across displays, and communication systems went haywire. Deep space monitoring stations reported massive energy fluctuations at the edge of the solar system. "Something's happening," Isling whispered, her eyes wide. "Something's coming." The anomalies were unlike anything their instruments had ever detected, tears in space itself, opening like wounds in the fabric of reality. Through these rifts came objects, moving at velocities that should have been impossible. "Are they ships?" Elena asked, staring at the blurry images captured by their telescopes. "If they are, they're unlike any vessel I've ever seen," Admiral Chen replied. "They're intercepting the Vrektar fleet." The command center fell into stunned silence as they watched the unfolding scene. The mysterious objects, crystalline structures that seemed to phase in and out of visible space, converged on the Vrektar vessels. There was no exchange of fire, no conventional battle. Instead, space itself seemed to bend around the Vrektar ships. Where mighty warships had been moments before, now there was nothing. "They're gone," someone whispered. "Not destroyed," Isling said, her voice filled with awe. "Displaced. These entities aren't fighting with weapons. They're manipulating spacetime itself." Within minutes, the entire Vrektar fleet had vanished, seemingly erased from existence. Earth's instruments tracked the mysterious objects as they changed course, now heading directly toward the planet. Panic spread through the command center. "Are we under attack now?" Admiral Chen demanded. "I don't think so," Isling replied. "I think they're answering our call." The leading edge of the mysterious fleet reached Earth's orbit exactly 3 hours after their first appearance. They arranged themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern around the planet, their crystalline structures catching and reflecting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. And then they waited. "They're not attacking," Elena observed after the objects had remained stationary for nearly an hour. "What are they waiting for?" Isling studied the sensor readings. "I believe they're waiting for us. We called. They came. Now they expect us to speak. How? We have no way to communicate with them." Isling looked thoughtful. The beacon. It wasn't just a transmitter. It was built to receive as well. They returned to Antarctica, to the facility where the beacon still sat dormant. As they approached, the crystalline structure began to glow once more, responding to some unseen signal from the visitors in orbit. "It's activating on its own," Isling said, rushing to her instruments. "They're initiating contact." The air shimmered, and reality seemed to fold in on itself. Where empty space had been moments before, a figure now stood, humanoid in basic shape, but composed of what appeared to be living crystal, with light flowing through its form like blood through veins. Elena instinctively reached for her sidearm, but Isling gripped her arm. Wait, they saved us. Let's hear what they have to say. The crystalline being regarded them with facets that somehow conveyed the sense of eyes. When it spoke, the voice seemed to bypass their ears entirely, resonating directly in their minds. The ancient call has been answered, it said. After eons of silence, the children of Terra have awakened. Outside, in orbit above Earth, the crystalline ships maintained their vigilant watch. The Vrektar threat had been eliminated, but as humanity was about to discover, it was just the beginning of a much larger story, one in which Earth would play a central role. The beacon glowed brighter, and the being extended what might have been a hand. We have much to discuss, children of Terra. The galaxy awaits. The arrival that changed everything. The crystalline being stood before Elena and Aisling, its form shifting subtly, as if its very molecular structure was in constant flux. The air around it hummed with energy, and the temperature in the Antarctic facility dropped several degrees in its presence. You called us the children of Terra, Elena said, finding her voice. What does that mean? Who are you? The being's inner light pulsed in rhythm with its thoughts. We are the luminary, guardians of the galactic equilibrium. Long ago, we seeded worlds across this galaxy with the potential for life. Terra, what you call Earth, was one such world. Aisling stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. You created humanity. No, the being replied. We created the conditions for life to evolve. What emerged was determined by the unique properties of each world. Your evolution was your own achievement. And the beacon? Elena asked. Why leave it for us to find? It was a test. Only civilizations that reach a certain level of technological and cultural development can discover and activate the beacon. Your call has proven that humanity has reached this threshold. The implications were staggering. For centuries, humans had debated their place in the universe, questioned whether they were alone. Now they had their answer, delivered by a being of crystal and light. The Vrektar, Elena said, refocusing on the immediate concern. Who were they? Why did they attack us? The luminary's light dimmed slightly. The Vrektar are harvesters, a species that depletes worlds of their resources before moving on. They have consumed dozens of developing civilizations. We cannot intervene without a call for aid, as we are bound by ancient protocols. Your activation of the beacon freed us to act. You could have saved the colonies, the outposts, Elena said, anger rising in her voice. Millions died waiting for us to find your test. The loss of life is regrettable, the luminary acknowledged. But understand, we oversee thousands of developing species. Our non-interference directive exists for good reason. Only when a civilization demonstrates both the need and the worthiness do we answer. Before Elena could respond, Admiral Chen's voice came through her communicator. Commander, we have a situation. The luminary ships are moving. They're forming some kind of structure in orbit. Elena looked to the crystalline being. What's happening? The Vrektar were merely displaced, not destroyed. It explained. They will return, and in greater numbers. What you see above is the formation of a defensive array, a shield that will protect your world while you prepare. Prepare for what? Aisling asked. Your ascension. The word hung in the air like a promise and a challenge. In the days that followed, representatives of the luminary met with Earth's leaders. The crystalline beings shared knowledge that transformed humanity's understanding of the universe. They spoke of a galactic community of advanced civilizations, each having passed their own tests of worthiness. They told of the Galactic Council, where species from across the stars collaborated and governed together. But they also spoke of threats, not just the Vrektar, but other malevolent forces that sought dominion or destruction. The galaxy was not a peaceful place, despite the luminary's best efforts. Elena found herself appointed as Earth's liaison to the luminary. Working alongside Aisling, she spent countless hours learning from these ancient beings, absorbing knowledge that spanned millions of years. There's something they're not telling us, Alina confided to Aisling one night as they reviewed the latest technology transfer. They're preparing us for something specific, but they dance around the details. Aisling nodded, her eyes tired from deciphering luminary scientific concepts. They keep referring to humanity's unique qualities without explaining what those are. And have you noticed how they study us? It's almost like they're afraid. The answer came 3 weeks after the luminary's arrival. Alina was summoned to the Antarctic facility, where the beacon now served as a permanent communication hub. The luminary representative, who had taken the name Helios for easier human interaction, awaited her with an unprecedented solemnity. The Vrector fleet has regrouped, Helios announced without preamble. They have allied with 3 other harvester species. The combined armada will reach your solar system in 14 days. Alina's blood ran cold. I thought your defensive array would protect us. It was designed to withstand the Vrector alone. This coalition is unprecedented. 4 harvester species working together. We have never seen such cooperation among them. Why? What makes Earth so valuable? Helios's crystalline form shimmered. Not Earth. You. Humanity. I don't understand. Every species in the galaxy evolves with strengths and limitations shaped by their homeworld. The luminary possess mastery over energy and spacetime. Others excel in biological adaptation or computational thinking. But humans, Helios paused. Humans are unique in their cognitive flexibility and emotional range. That doesn't sound like something worth invading for, Alina observed. You underestimate yourselves. Your species can adapt rapidly, solve problems creatively, and form social bonds across significant differences. Most critically, you possess something rare in the galaxy, the capacity to genuinely understand other species' perspectives. Alina processed this information. Empathy. That's our superpower. Combined with your adaptability and inventiveness, yes, the harvesters seek to either eliminate potential competitors or, worse, to study and replicate these qualities for themselves. So what do we do? Alina asked. If your defenses won't hold, we fight. Helios replied simply. We teach you to use what we can safely share, and we stand together. The 2 weeks that followed were a blur of activity. The luminary provided Earth with defensive technology, not weapons, they emphasized, but shields and countermeasures. They helped humanity retrofit their existing spacecraft with enhanced capabilities. Most importantly, they established direct neural interfaces that allowed human pilots to control ships with thought alone, multiplying their effectiveness. Alina found herself in command of Earth's combined defense fleet, a hodgepodge of military vessels, retrofitted civilian ships, and 3 luminary cruisers crewed by human luminary teams. Admiral Chen supervised the deployment of planetary shield generators, while Aisling coordinated with luminary scientists to develop emergency evacuation protocols should the worst happen. The enemy armada arrived exactly when predicted, a vast cloud of ships that blotted out the stars. The Vrector vessels were recognizable from before, but they were joined by 3 other distinct designs. Angular black ships that seemed to absorb light, biological-looking vessels that pulsed like beating hearts, and swarms of smaller craft that moved with insect-like coordination. 4 harvester species, Helios confirmed from the command ship where he had joined Alina. The Ket, the Organi, and the Swarm, alongside the Vrector, each dangerous alone. Together, they still haven't faced humans and luminary fighting side by side. Alina finished, projecting more confidence than she felt. The battle began without warning or ultimatum. The harvester fleet opened fire simultaneously, their weapons impacting the luminary defensive array. Space itself seemed to warp and bend as energy discharges lit up the void between Earth and its attackers. The array is holding, reported a luminary operator, but power levels are declining faster than projected. 18 minutes until failure. Alina made her decision. We can't wait for them to break through. All ships engage according to Battle Plan Theta. Earth's fleet moved forward, emerging from behind the protective shield in a carefully choreographed maneuver. Unlike traditional space battles imagined in science fiction, this conflict happened at tremendous speeds, with ships moving in 3 dimensions, utilizing the luminary's partial mastery of space-time to appear and disappear from normal space. The human pilots, connected directly to their ships through the neural interfaces, displayed remarkable adaptability. Where luminary tactics were precise and calculated, humans introduced unpredictability and improvisation that repeatedly caught the harvesters off guard. Elena's flagship dove through the heart of the Vrektar formation, its shields flaring as enemy weapons fire splashed against them. "Target the command nodes," she ordered. "Use the phase disruptors." The battle raged for hours, with losses mounting on both sides. The harvesters, for all their technological superiority, seemed unable to adapt to the combined luminary-human approach. The luminary brought precision and power. The humans brought chaos and creativity. "They're retreating," reported Admiral Chen from Earth's Defense Command. "The swarm and Organi ships are breaking formation." But victory was not yet assured. The Vrektar and Ket forces pressed forward with renewed determination, concentrating their fire on the weakening defensive array. "They're going to break through," Helios warned. "The planetary shields won't hold against a concentrated assault." Elena studied the tactical display, her mind racing. "What if we collapse the array ourselves? On our terms?" Helios turned to her, crystal facets reflecting starlight. "Explain." "You said the array manipulates spacetime. What if we reconfigure it to create a localized fold, catch their fleet in a spacetime pocket?" "The calculations would need to be perfect," Helios objected. "And the array isn't designed for offensive use. But it could work." After a moment's hesitation, Helios nodded. It could work. The plan came together rapidly. Luminary technicians worked with human programmers to rewrite the array's protocols. The remaining fleet positioned themselves strategically, herding the harvester forces into position. "Ready," Isling reported from the control center where she supervised the reconfiguration. "But we'll only get one chance." Elena took a deep breath. "All ships, clear the target zone. Initiate Array Protocol Phoenix." The defensive shield around Earth flickered and then collapsed entirely. For a terrible moment, the planet lay completely exposed. The harvester fleet surged forward, sensing victory. Then the array's energy, instead of projecting outward in a shield, collapsed inward, creating a swirling vortex in the very fabric of space. The effect caught the leading edge of the harvester fleet, pulling ships inexorably toward its center. "It's working," Isling exclaimed. "The spacetime fold is forming." Ships disappeared into the vortex, compressed and displaced to a distant part of the galaxy. The effect spread outward, consuming more of the harvester fleet with each passing second. Some vessels managed to escape, breaking away and fleeing into the darkness of space. But the majority, including the massive command ships of both the Vrektar and Ket, vanished into the fold before it finally collapsed upon itself. In the silence that followed, Elena stared at the starfield where the enemy fleet had been. "Is it over?" "This battle is," Helios replied. "But they will return, eventually." "And we'll be ready," Elena said. The aftermath of what became known as the Battle of Terra marked a turning point for humanity. The Luminary, impressed by humanity's performance in the conflict, formally invited Earth to join the Galactic Council as a protected species, a rare honor for such a young civilization. Within a year, human diplomatic missions traveled to worlds beyond imagination. The technology shared by the Luminary accelerated human development by centuries, while carefully preserving cultural development and autonomy. Earth became a hub of interspecies cooperation, with representatives from dozens of civilizations establishing embassies and cultural exchanges. Humanity's unique qualities proved valuable indeed, as humans often served as mediators and problem solvers in conflicts between more established species. Elena found herself appointed as Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council, a position she accepted with both pride and trepidation. Standing in the vast crystal chamber of the council spire, surrounded by beings of every conceivable form, she reflected on how far humanity had come since that desperate day when they activated an ancient beacon, sending a signal of desperation into the void. "The galaxy has changed," Helios said, standing beside her as the council session prepared to commence. "Your arrival has disturbed ancient patterns and awakened dormant forces. Some fear this change." "And you?" Elena asked. "Do you fear it?" The luminary's inner light pulsed thoughtfully. "I welcome it." The old equilibrium was stagnant. Sometimes the galaxy needs a spark to prevent the darkness from spreading. As the council chambers filled and the ancient protocols of galactic governance began, Elena realized that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The signal of desperation had been answered, and the arrival that followed had indeed changed the galaxy forever. But the true transformation was just beginning.